touch, a primary sense, a rudimentary skill. These are the stories of people help themselves and each other. This is a Hand Up Podcast.
All right, Hand Up Podcast on location, Corbin Lowes. We're here, Steve and I with KCOC Housing. We done a podcast a couple weeks ago, kind of highlighted on a new partnership that KCOC, Community Action Partnership, and the Corbin Lowes store is going to do on a couple ventures that may or may not help somebody in the community, or just help an individual out that's in need on a project. Introduce first Justin Creech, the store manager here at Corbin Lowes. Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you've been working at Lowes, various departments, and what has led you to become the store manager here at this particular Lowes?
That's a great question. I'm working on my 17th year, believe it or not, and time really flies. And I started back in 2007. I started working for Lowes when I was finishing up school, and at that time the economy was a lot different, and full-time jobs were definitely tough to come by, and they were building the store in London, and I had a friend that mentioned it, and long story short, started there as a full-time associate working in the lumber building materials department, and worked there for about 8 years, and it moved up through. I've worked everywhere from running delivery departments to appliances, cabinets, plumbing, electrical, all across the store, from working even on night shift teams, doing freight and stocking, that sort of thing. In 2015, I was blessed to get my first store, which was over in Eastern Kentucky in Paintsville. So my family and I, we packed up and we moved over there, and we spent about 4.5 years of our life, and we had the opportunity to come back home. Corbin, this area is home to me and my family, so we got to move back in March of 19, and been blessed to be here ever since.
That's great. Multiple departments. I'm sure you know the store inside and out by now. That's great. Now, Sidney, you're with Pro Services, right?
Correct. I'm a Pro Service supervisor here at Corbin Lowes.
Okay.
I've done commercial construction prior to this, and I'm in midway through my second year, so going on 3 years here at Lowes. I started as a seasonal employee in the appliance department.
Mm-hmm.
A few months after that, I got the opportunity to move into a part-time position and eventually into a full-time position in plumbing and electrical. Opportunity come open, I was able to step into the role of a supervisor over plumbing and electrical. I've done various things throughout the store, learned many different tasks with just wonderful people, fantastic working with and being able to teach. Here in the past, this last February, I was able to move into the role of pro supervisor, going with commercial accounts and contractors and having that hand-in-hand relationship with everybody. It's been a fantastic learning experience, and just a lot more exciting than I thought it'd be.
Wonderful. Sounds like you're advancing pretty swiftly compared to most. I'm sure Justin's glad to have you on board and in your position.
Hey, Sidney does a fantastic job, and the thing about him, he's a technical guy. So all those plumbing questions, Steve, he's a good one too. He's a great one to help out, and he's like I said, he spent a lot of his time in some commercial construction and plumbing and stuff. So his expertise and knowledge, and he's just a great team player. Help anybody out any way he can, and that's what I really admire and love having him on my team.
You're definitely lucky to have a man like him.
Yes, sir.
Now, all in all, let's talk about post-pandemic for just a little bit.
Okay.
You guys been in the construction business, been running the store. Steve and I have been involved with building houses, with maintenance. I could probably walk through the store and go to an aisle blindfolded. I visit this store and other hardware stores, as well. And I'm sure Steve's the same way. We can walk through here and blindfolded and pick something off the shelf.
Yeah.
And we may do that on an episode. We may prove that we can find stuff in the dark, and we may even put a little wager against these guys in their own store.
All right.
That might be a good challenge to come up with. So, post-pandemic now, I can remember when shelves were almost bare.
Mm-hmm.
Lowe's did do a fairly decent job with inventory.
Sure.
As far as keeping some stuff. However, certain brands of things changed drastically because factories were shut down.
Yeah.
Now inflation is up. Are you seeing contractors come in other than stuff than what we do? Do you see a big fluctuation all of a sudden of new homes going up?
Well, I definitely want to touch on and hearing you talk about the pandemic and all that, it just a lot of memories start kind of rushing back, and I think about we spent I think it's fair to say years just doing everything that we could to be open for our community and have the stuff that they needed, and something about Lowe's, and again working on 17 years. The way that our executive leadership team treated our associates during that time, and with numerous of things, it really, really has meant so much to me, especially looking back on that. Mm-hmm. So, but to answer your question now, kind of the tailwinds of it, it feels good to be able to use the word normal.
Okay.
If I was to tell you, middle towards the end of July, pre-pandemic, in Kentucky it's hot. Things generally during that time kind of slow down a little bit, and then things start to really start picking back up. That would be the word maybe I would use. Is it feels more normal. In comparison to other years. I do feel like that new home builds in our area, Brian, is up. It feels, our lumber building materials department is definitely always hopping, in which Sidney could speak to that as far as new builds. And there's been some different developers, I feel like, some different players that have come in and developing different parts of our communities. I think when you look at, just right out here on the bypass with the Cumberland Run and all that type of stuff, I think that's bringing some different type of
newer contractors.
Yeah, some
new faces.
And even if you look like across the road with the development of the new Go Time, the Moe's gas station stuff,
Yes.
Those was definitely new. But business is nowhere near what it was, a couple of years ago. Just as, like you said, factories were shut down. People, they didn't have anything to do besides, home improvement projects. I mean, nobody was doing anything. So, I guess the word normal, it feels more normal, being in July, going into the dog days of summer than years past, because it wouldn't have mattered. It felt like for us during that time, it wouldn't have mattered if it's July or March. I mean, it's just crazy busy. And to your point, you touched on, I mean, there was times that, just from a sheer supply and demand, we saw a lot of inventory outages. And we would fight and scrap to get certain stuff. And then, it would be, and I know a lot of other industries saw that as well, but, if you go out and look on my front walk right now, I'm in stock with riding mowers. Mm-hmm. If you would have looked 2 years ago at this time, you had to fight and scrap to get a mower. And a lot of that was, getting the parts to complete assembly or what have you. So it feels good to be back in a better in-stock position, I I believe that COVID changed us forever. I think it's changed our customers'
Absolutely.
shopping habits. If you think of, we still have a huge demand that customers shop us online, and they still, when we say our customers that they still prefer not to come in a store. So, but just to answer that, I would say normal.
One thing, I wasn't with Lowe's during the retail moment of the pandemic and everything and that. Coming from the construction side, there's definitely supply constraints and just those general issues you come along with effectively shutting down. One thing, like you're saying, with coming out of it, I don't think that our type of online fulfillment and stuff like that would be at the stage at all that we're currently at without the pandemic.
That's been a big push for online.
Yeah.
It's been huge. Just, during the pandemic, we wouldn't be able to, the four of us wouldn't be able to sit here and do this.
No, sure.
We would have done this Zoom.
Yeah.
Or FaceTime or.
6 foot apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that. And that was one thing, this is a kudos for Lowe's. During the pandemic and this and that, and I'm looking for a part, and I don't know what the part was called. So I do the little thing pops up with the customer service chat thing.
Yes, sir.
I need this. It goes on this, and I start getting pictures.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
It was like I was FaceTiming somebody trying to explain to me the replacement part that I needed without me knowing the proper name of it, which was good. But, well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that you feel that things are starting to get back in the normal. I know for Steve and his guys, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
It's nonstop.
Yeah.
But that does lead me to something else too. In preparation for the Hand Up podcast today, I noticed that there was several people coming in to either be interviewed for a position or to talk about different jobs and this and that. Now, that's a huge thing right now, and I had another podcast earlier today, and we highlighted that every business, every company, every employer, and not just in our area or our state. This is nationwide.
Sure.
Every yard you drive by, somebody has a help wanted sign.
Yeah.
Every single one. We were just talking about some of the programs that we have within our agency with youth workers and like an experienced works type thing, dislocated workers programs that there's funding available for that.
Sure.
But we don't get the applications coming in to help that.
Yeah.
So how are you all dealing with short staff measures? The hiring process, has things been shortened on the hiring process that's helped you keep your doors open and back to normal business hours?
Yeah.
It's greatly affected us.
And I echo that. It doesn't matter, even if you think about Walmart across the street. You used to, you didn't have to worry about what time you could go if you need something from Walmart 24 hours a day.
Absolutely.
It's not that way any longer.
No.
So again, and for us here, and I think that, and during all that, it felt like a time that we were doing and literally begging to have people to work.
Right.
So we did. I think the company did a great job of, they changed some stuff around to make it shorter, to make it more seamless. They do a really good job now of online recruiting, and I think they, from a company standpoint, the support is fantastic. You guys know this. Sidney knows this. In southeastern Kentucky, these communities are so tight-knit that if you really want to make an impact, you got to get out and build relationships with people.
You do.
And, it's just like, that gentleman that come in earlier. I got a phone call from his uncle earlier today. He said, hey, I've got such and such. He's looking for a job. I promise you, he's going to show up to work. He's going to do all these things. So that stuff is just so important to me. We've built great relationships with, Knox County schools, Corbin schools, the University of the Cumberlands.
Wonderful school.
Yeah, and we've had so many student athletes that are in our area, from all over. We've had student workers here from Georgia, from Rhode Island, from all across. So we've been able to really have some great relationships to help us with funnel folks to us. Nikki here does a great job with the local schools. But if I was to tell you it's not a great challenge, I'd be lying to you.
Okay.
And it is something, again, we are actively hiring here, always looking. And again, if you go back, 3 or 4 years ago, by this time, our busy time's kind of starting to slow down a little bit, and we wouldn't be hiring. But now we do interviews 7 days a week.
That's great.
I've got a hiring manager here that is 7 days a week, and if they're interested in a job, but we're so flexible because you've got employees like Sidney and I. This is our full-time job. This is how we support our families. I've got teachers that work here with me. We've got several students that work here. So we're so flexible, and we do a really good job working on people's schedules. So always looking for great people, and we're blessed to have some right here. But
great.
Definitely, I saw the company do things like that's really been a huge benefit, like flexible scheduling. We even offer something that would be just crazy. If I'd have thought in 07, if you'd have told me in 07 that I'll see a day where we're going to offer full-time associates a 4-day work week, there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
But we do that, and the company I think had to see that we had to change and adjust, and through that, I mean, I've got people that say if we didn't offer it, I wouldn't be at Lowes today. So
that's wonderful. I actually thought, with half of my staff, I've thought about calling you and saying, "Hey, you got my guys on part-time down there or what? They're at your store a lot."
Yeah.
Yeah. Add that to your list, Steve. What you got about that?
Here's something I'd like to talk about is your Heroes program.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with that till just, 3 or 4, 5 months ago when we talked about it.
Yeah.
I'd like for you to explain that and tell what we're going to be working with.
So kind of a high-level overview with that, and something that I'm proud that we do here. So we offer our associates what we call give back time to be able to really reach out to these nonprofit organizations, and we pay them to use their time to go out and do that. And how many organizations do that? And you think about, over almost 1,750 stores across the U.S. That's a huge commitment to our communities, right? Mm-hmm. So what that is we'll partner again with, say Lowe's and you guys that we obviously appreciate y'all so much and value your partnership and what your organization stands for. So, you'll have something going on in the community, and it could be to give somebody, a helping hand, or we'll use for an example. I know that we've talked about some raised garden beds and stuff in the springtime. We've talked about like wheelchair accessible ramps, maybe for somebody that's either elderly or maybe through an unforeseen accident or something, could be wheelchair bound, that maybe didn't have access to something like that. So we can provide volunteers, and that's something that we support and we want and we talk about, to be able to go out and provide, some help, some labor. And obviously working through us, we provide materials, and just what an awesome way to be able to give back and support somebody or give a helping hand to somebody, because it could be me next time needs a hand.
Be any one of us.
Could be any of us, So and throughout my time, done this, and I'll just share a couple that really stick with me. And one of them, I talked about going over to Paintsville. My first week as store manager over there, back in 15, they had a historic flood, and it was in a small area over there, a flat gap, and it affected a small group of people. But to that community, it was devastating. Worst flood there in 100 years. So there was a church. Again, Flat Gap is a lot like our rural communities here. It's way out in the county. Church had been there for over 100 years, and they was a group of kids that had a playground. at one time. When that flood come, the playground was gone. It was sitting there on the bank of that creek, and it come and it took everything. So we got together at the store and partnered with a group, and we come in there, leveled that back off. Was able to get some brand new playground equipment in there. Was able to get a chain link fence put up around it. So again, it's sitting on the side of a bank like most things are in Eastern Kentucky. Those kids didn't have, they could go out there and had a place to play. And I'll never. They had a little ceremony out there when it was all done, and the parents and the grandparents of those children, when they shook your hand and they thanked you, and you could just tell that
You felt it.
You could feel the appreciation, and it just it's just stuck with me. And I think about that community. I think about that so much. And then there was another time that we worked with a group that had kind of an elderly program over there, and working with them, we went into a home, and there was an 80-year-old gentleman living there, and it was summertime. Things were hot. He had no AC, and he was absolutely sleeping on a couch that I wouldn't let a dog sleep on. I'll be honest with you. And through that program, we was able to go in, build him a set of steps at his front door. We was able to get him a portable AC unit, and I can promise you, by that night, he had a much better place to sleep. And that type of stuff is you can't put a price tag on it. You can't put, but that's just a couple things that I've been able to witness, and I could sit here and talk. I could sit here and talk with you guys for the rest of the afternoon about the impact that can make. And I know we've talked about it, and we're about to embark on some different stuff, and hopefully the goal of that is for some of those families to be able to share those same stories, right? To be able to say, Lowes and KCOC really, man, they gave me a helping hand. They helped us in a need, because I don't care who you are, hard times can fall on anybody.
And there's so many out there that won't ask for help.
Yeah.
I'm sure that little guy that you all helped there, he probably had so much pride, he wouldn't think one second about asking for help.
Yeah. No, that's what he said. Yeah.
A lot of the elderly people are like that.
Yeah.
There's help out there for them.
Yeah.
And they don't know it. They don't want it.
Yeah.
They don't realize it. There's all kinds of benefits out there that would help someone in that nature, give them that hand up that they needed. And not that hand out, a hand up.
Hand up, that's right.
And that's what we're talking about here. That's where we're going. Lowes for Heroes program. I talked to Steve yesterday at lunchtime, and my phone rung. Guy calls me out of the blue, strictly coincidental, just out of the blue. Hey, my sister-in-law's fell and broke her hip. I need someone to build me a wheelchair ramp. I said, hey, I'm meeting with the guy. We might be able to make that happen. I'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I want to roll with this. Lowes for Heroes.
Yeah.
We're going to get out together. We'll go evaluate it and see what we come up with. I'm sure Mr. Keith Green will be going with us. He'll be taking pictures. We'll document this, and we'll look at this hand up that this little old lady needs to get her in and out of her house. So, Justin, Sidney, I greatly appreciate y'all's time today with this, the experiences, the stories.
Yeah.
Good conversation, good time.
Brian, we appreciate you guys, y'all, and again, I said it earlier. What your organization stands for is always meant something to me, to be able to continue to work and build on our relationship, and think about it. If we can help somebody out there, and like I said, hand up a little bit and make it just a little bit easier, especially a hard situation. It's pretty cool stuff. So we appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out with us today, and
All right.
We'll do it again.
Sounds
We'll do
good
it again. We'll definitely do it again after we get some projects done, for sure.
Okay.
So you've not seen the last of us 4. Thank you all for watching.
This is a Hand Up Podcast.